What's up, everyone? So first, I definitely have to give a shout out to BFTB. Got my merch on today. Love it. It kind of gives me like the vibes when I used to wear jerseys and stuff like that. So I'm definitely enjoying it. Thank you so much. Definitely, if you get a chance and you love boxing talk, he's one of my favorite content creators on YouTube. You can check him out at BFT Boxing or BFTB Sports. BFTB Boxing, BFTB Sport. Yeah, I got it right. Okay. So today, I just wanted to talk briefly about a skill that we all can incorporate, just to help us better navigate throughout our day to day, just to better help us be able to communicate with others, to respond appropriately, if you will, to situations that may prove to be a little rougher than per usual. Um, so it's going to come from DBT. And just to let you know, one of the biggest stigmas that I find is a lot of times within our culture when it comes to mental health. So many oftentimes people will come in, they're like, hey, I've been praying, I've been doing this. And I'm like, nothing's wrong with that at all. Definitely, I encourage anyone to have their spiritual belief systems, religious belief systems, whatever you're going to find comfort in, that's between you and that higher power, right? So I encourage that. And also, I recognize that mental health is real. And so it's nothing wrong with talking to someone like myself who provides psychotherapy. But if you're one of those people that's like, I ain't trying to do all of that, or it may not just be a belief system of yours. You may be like, nah, it's Western philosophy. I'm not about that. And I respect that as well, right? But I will say that I'm a big skeptic. I've always been very skeptical of a lot of different modalities. And so I don't encourage the clients that I work with to utilize these modalities unless I've tried them and I say, oh, yeah, they work. So today we're going to just talk briefly about DBT. DBT is developed, that modality, by Marsha Linehan. And it says two things can be true, two opposites can be true at the same damn time. Maybe they didn't say same damn time, but you get it. So the example I used to always use is when we have individuals that may admit to the crisis stabilization unit. I would say, you don't want to be here. You'd rather be at home in your own comfort of your room, your bed, you know, um, TV, all of those things. And what you were previously doing was not working for you. So they're two opposite things, but they can both be true at the same time. And that's really the simplest meaning of DBT, regardless that I practice as a resident counseling clinician, whatever one may call it, and provide psychotherapy. It does not negate that everyday language is not clinical. So I often am very intentional with finding a way to explain things that anybody can understand of all ages, right? So the skill that I want to talk about today is wise mind. Um, Wise mind, the biggest thing is it teaches us that all of us have the potential to be wise. Wise, in its simplest terms, just says you're using knowledge that has been gained and you're applying it. In other words, knowledge and application. And so that when you put it that way, then that says that all of us, right, can show wisdom. All of us have the potential to be wise. Like so many other things in life, it's whether or not we choose to do so. And so I love the wise mind skill because it gives us this intentionality to gain balance of our emotions and of our logical mind. When we acknowledge our emotional mind and our logical mind, together we're able to create this balance of the wise mind, if you will. And so emotional mind, I often think of that as like the mush, right? So say, for instance, we're pouring some concrete, all right? The emotional mind is like the actual mush, the actual, you know, feelings, urges. Some people struggle with like self-harm urges or addictions. They may have cravings. When it comes to emotions, we may have an overwhelming feeling of guilt, sadness, shame, fear, anger, frustration, being annoyed, whatever that may be, because we're all human and we're definitely having a human experience. And so all these emotions may arise in us at times, even if we don't suffer from any serious mental illness, right? So when we stay in that emotional mind, and if we stay there too long, then our behaviors follow the thoughts of our emotional mind. Hoping that makes sense. So if my thought is, I'm angry right now, instead of me just stopping for the moment, validating that feeling first, like, okay, you're angry. What's happening? Why is this coming up for you? What could have caused this, right? I'm validating myself. So many of us don't validate ourselves. We validate everyone else. We validate spouses. We validate partners. We validate children. We validate parents, whomever, siblings, friends, whatever. But we need to learn to validate ourselves. And you validate yourself by just noticing it. Notice the emotion. Acknowledge it. It's real. You're not having no delusion. You're not hallucinating. It's really real. If you pissed right now, I promise you pissed. Don't judge it. Don't judge your emotion. So many times, depending upon how one has been raised, right? And belief systems can begin to condition the mind to judge that which we feel. Well, that can easily cancel out us validating ourselves if we always like, oh, you shouldn't be feeling that way. Well, you can get to that, but at the beginning, you want to say, yes, it's real. I'm mad right now. Validate it. Don't judge it. It's happening. And then we can examine why. How did it come to be so? And I'm just telling you these things because these are all things that we can do for ourselves. You don't even have to go pay someone for this skill. We can implement it. All of us have those moments where we struggle to find that balance. And so after you've acknowledged that emotion or feeling or whatever it is that you're having, and you've noticed it, that's where you want to stop at. It's not a stuffed animal. It's not some safety blanket that you're gonna coddle and hold on to. What I mean by that is, you ever known someone that's mad on a Monday and then they're mad on a Tuesday? Seems like they get madder on a Wednesday. They're still mad on a Thursday and they stay there. And this intensity of the emotion remains at its climax. The truth of the matter is, it's been proven that the intensity of our emotions and feelings or cravings or urges, they only last about 90 seconds. So then what does that tell you? It's us who constantly ruminate. You ever thought about something more and more, and then you just find yourself becoming more increasingly overwhelmed with that emotion? That's all that's happening, is we're maintaining the intensity by ruminating. And that's a whole nother, quick talk on how to kind of get in between that so that way we can stop the rumination. So here we just acknowledge the emotion. We notice it. We don't stay with it long, because if we stay with it, we're going to start ruminating. We then want to look at logically what's happening, because that logical mind is that rigidness. Remember, we were talking about what if we were to pour concrete? So the emotions are the actual concrete itself, right? It's all the mixture. The logical mind, the rational mind, whatever you want to call it, is like the actual framing, okay? It's quite rigid. You ever known people who are kind of all or nothing? They're very rigid in their thinking. Okay. So one who's logical minded, they'll say, oh, I'm a logical thinker. I'm not emotional. What's the difference between being emotional and being of the emotion mind, right? Um, Even when one thinks that they are being in their logical mind, a lot of times what's driven them to that logical thinking or that thought pattern is that of emotions. It's amazing how that works. I've found that so many times um, over the time of providing counseling, where someone will say, oh no, I'm a logical thinker. And then I'll have to go back and give instances of, I know you're telling me it was logic. What was it driven by? You know? So, all right, we've already acknowledged the mush, the emotions, the feelings, the urges, cravings, whatever. We've acknowledged that frame, that rigidness of the logical mind. Well, once we mix the two together, because we're not ignoring either one, but we're also not choosing to be on two far ends of either spectrum. Once we acknowledge both, we can pour, and that concrete is what's going to build the foundation to that wise mind. The wise mind is the foundation. That means that we are easily able to stand right in balance because we've acknowledged both sides. We've been able to acknowledge and be honest with ourselves and see both perspectives, right? Just helps us be a lot more balanced. It helps us maintain control. So many times life can feel out of control, but factually speaking, the one thing that is in control is us and our emotions and just our reactions. And that's what can happen if we are just constantly thinking in that emotion mind, that emotional thinking, that we are just very impulsive. We're reactive, we're responsive. And that can lead to so many other things. I mean, somebody can say something or do something, and then the next day they feel guilty or they feel shame or whatever, just begins to spiral, a snowball effect, whatever one wants to call it. I just encourage you to really take advantage of, when you're getting ready to make a decision, when you may have some sort of disagreement or discord or anything. I mean, like I said, life be lifing, and something like this can prove very beneficial if one is intentional with it. So I just encourage you to check in with yourself and say, okay, am I in my wise mind right now? Or am I a little far on the spectrum of that emotional mind? Am I using that wise mind right now? Or am I a little far on the spectrum of that logical mind? Be gentle with yourself. Remember, we're all doing this thing called life for the very first time. And even for those who are of philosophy, they may say, oh, how do you know we're not returning again? I would then come back and argue, but it may not be in the same shell. So once again, you're doing life for the first time. Just give yourself that space and give yourself that grace. I hope you enjoyed this, and I definitely look forward to hearing all your questions or just whether or not you enjoyed this video. I'm gonna continue rocking my BFTB shirt. Get ready for the live that's about to happen. Tune in if you get a chance. It's probably gonna be around 6 p.m. Definitely great boxing talk. I'm the first to say I'm a boxing casual, but I enjoy it. Peace and blessings, everyone. All right.